How's it going, friends?
Kelly,
Hi.
hi. Can you hear me?
Of course.
I didn't.
How's it
I
going,
didn't want to
Wade?
waste time in that. I didn't want to waste time in that last meeting. But when and I thought you said this, when I pull up my Schoology and it says recent activity, then I go to course dashboard. There's nothing on my course dashboard. It's blank.
Yes. So you were one of the ones that were impacted by the patch that Schoology's working on. So in real life, when it actually is syncing correctly, you'll actually see your kiddos in your class.
Okay,
So
so
you'll see a
because
square just like I see. So hopefully so what they said was they're going to give us an ETA tomorrow afternoon on kind of their status. If you check back every so often between now and tomorrow afternoon, it may already populate for you, but know that they're working on
okay,
that patch.
okay, because was I did I sign up wrong or?
No, you didn't do anything
Oh,
wrong.
oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Because
you
you
didn't
said
do
something
anything
about a
wrong.
second email, and the first one I saw, I just got on as soon as I could and logged in. So
Yeah, no, you didn't do anything wrong.
okay, so I'm just waiting for it to populate itself. Don't do anything, you said, right?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I needed. I'll say goodbye again.
All right, we'll see you later. Thanks for hanging out with
Okay.
me.
No, thank you. Thanks for all you do, Kelly.
Oh, I
Appreciate it.
appreciate you
Thank you.
guys. You guys are
Okay.
the real
Bye-bye.
heroes.
No, no. Thank you.
So how's it going, guys? I love that you are all super exhausted and you're still smiling anyway. You're just like 2020. I got this. So I am going to actually share my screen with you, and I'm going to talk you through some slides that I've created. And in my slide deck, I have links to single thing I'm going to talk about today. So if there's two ways that you can go about this. I want to be super clear about one thing, is that this is not like full-on Schoology training. What this is this is a, hey Kelly, I have no idea what I'm even looking at when I log in. Can you help me figure out what I'm looking at? So that way you at least have your bearing when you go into a formal training. So I just want to be super clear about just the purpose of why we're here. Like, this is just a learning lab for you to play. If you want to, you can join the Zoom. You can put me on your iPad and then you can navigate it on the computer. The reason I suggest Zooming on your iPad is because the computer has some more features than your iPad does. So not that it's bad to use Schoology on your iPad, but just some of the stuff you're going to be like, wait, I don't see that. It's because you're on the iPad. So if you want to follow along that way, you are so welcome to. If you want to just kind of hang out and listen, you are welcome to do that too. And it's just me. So everybody else is tasked out to other things right now. So feel free to just be like, hey, Kelly, like stop me, because it's hard for me to teach and look at the chat box and do all this and at the same time. So don't hesitate to just shout out a question if you have one. Fair enough? All right, you guys ready to get started? Okay, so I'm gonna start here. You guys see my little screen here? Let me just make sure I've got people in my, making sure I'm admitting everybody that needs to be in here. Some of you guys are switching over. So yeah, so this is a super, super informal way for us to just get familiar with Schoology and figure out where we even start. Your colleagues in the session beforehand really expressed just how nervous they are about Schoology and how overwhelmed they are. And I'm just here to tell you, like, we're just gonna roll with this. We're gonna take chances. We're gonna make mistakes. We're gonna get messy, and it's gonna be okay. We're gonna figure this out. I want to also let you know that we have met with the Schoology people just right before I hopped on this Zoom to talk about some of the issues that you're encountering. So some of you have encountered issues where your kids haven't populated, or some of you may have, our Riverview friends in particular, have all of a sudden found themselves rostered to Lakeview, and they were like, what is going on with that? This is really weird. This doesn't make sense. So they are working on all of that, and they're getting that squared away for you. So we'll have an update later on. Know that that's coming, and we're going to communicate out to you as soon as we have more information about that fix. So without further ado, if you type in this bit.ly into your search bar, this links you to my slide deck. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you, and it's on every slide, so if you miss it, don't worry, it'll be on the next slide too. The reason why I'm sharing it with you is because then you can save it, and I have resources for every single topic that is in this slide deck. So if you're like, hey, I totally forgot how to do this, I've linked you the resource there and you have it. So it should be super easy to navigate. Today, what we're doing is we're going to do 3 learning labs. And again, the learning lab purpose is just to kind of orient you. It's not to replace formal training or anything like that. These are totally voluntary. Come and hang out with us, come and ask questions. Let's chat, let's figure this out together. And so this is the first of 3. Next week, I'm not sure if it's going to be me or Stephanie running it. One of us will. We're going to go a little bit deeper with some of this stuff. So as we're talking today, if you're like, you know what, Cal, I kind of already figured this out. Hey, no harm, no foul. Like, I'll catch you next week. And then finally on the 23rd, same time, same place, we are going to go ahead and get really geeky with some of the things that Schoology can do, like grade books and stuff like that. So hang tight. This is kind of what we're going to play with and where we're headed. For today, this is my goal for you, is I really want to show you how to navigate the Schoology homepage. So when you log into Schoology, like, what are you looking at? What does all this stuff do? Then I want to go ahead and show you how to edit your Schoology profile. So for me, I don't necessarily want my first graders seeing Kelly Gilbert on everything. I would rather them see Miss Gilbert. So I can show you how to change that. And then show you how to edit your notification settings, how to deal with your resources, understand the difference between courses and groups, and then of course have you join our Schoology squad, where we're going to post a bunch of stuff for you related to Schoology for you to look at your own leisure. Sounds fair enough? Ready to get started? All right, so off we go. So the first thing I want to talk about is this homepage. And if you have this slide deck up, you'll notice that in here, I have links for everything. I have a video that walks you through what you're doing. I also have a job aid for what you're doing, but I think it's probably going to be easier for me to just show you. So let's go ahead, and if you haven't already done so, go ahead and log into Schoology. And I'll give you guys a second to get there. So when you're in Schoology, this is what it looks like on your home screen. Anytime you click this Schoology in the top left corner, it's going to take you back to this home screen. So it's important to know that that's always available to you, because you can go down a whole bunch of different pathways and you can always return right to where you are. For this, you can decide what you want to see. If you want to see what you've done recently versus your course dashboard, you can set it. Totally up to you how you want to go about it. Let's see, I have a check question right here. Okay, and so here what I've done is I've just kind of created some mock classes for me to go through today. So you should see your course classes. Like I had said before, if you're logging in and it's totally blank, don't worry, it's getting fixed. So Schoology had an error on their end with rostering and the way that it's talking to our Illuminate system. So some of you are impacted by it and some of you aren't. So if you're like, I don't have any kids yet, we're tracking on it, we're working on it, we're fixing it. So just be kind of on the lookout for an Ed Services email, and we'll keep you updated on how that works. Okay, let me pause for questions and then I'll go on. I can't see you, so you guys have to just shout it out for me.
I used to, in the summer, I had a Schoology account, but I didn't use it. And my Lakeside email and the password I created don't work anymore.
Okay, email Stephanie Jakes, and she has been working on merging accounts and getting all those fixed. So if you've already created an account and she hasn't done it, she has a form that she had sent out that says save my Schoology. Fill out that form and she will fix it for you.
Kelly, what if we don't have an account? And I've emailed Stephanie and haven't heard back from her.
So you probably will hear back from her tomorrow. Stephanie was on leave, so she returns tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, mine doesn't work at all. It says it doesn't exist.
Okay.
I emailed Lauren and she got back to me like 4 seconds before this training started. So if you emailed her right now, I bet she'd get back to you.
She probably would.
Yeah, she's on it right now.
Awesome. All right, my friends. So without further ado, let's talk about what you're seeing here. So the first thing you're going to see in this blue bar at the very top, and again, I'm just showing you how to navigate and what these things mean. The first thing you're going to see is your courses. So when you click on courses, if you're a middle school teacher, you'll probably see several. If you are an elementary teacher, you might see one. If you are a special ed teacher or you have a caseload, you may see multiple. Just kind of depends on what your role is and what you're teaching or who you're working with this year. So your courses really are, think of like your virtual classroom, right? So when you click on your course, you can see everything that you're going to be doing with your kiddos. Now mine is super raw because for this tutorial, I wanted it to be as blank as possible. Like we're starting completely fresh, right? So everything in this course is where you're going to be working with your kids and reaching out and doing all of that stuff. This is where you're going to see your assignments. This is where you're going to see your activities. This is where you post assessments even. You're going to instruct, do your grade books, communicate, all of that here in your courses. Do I have a question?
Hello, Titi. How are you?
Okay, so, all right. Are you guys ready to go on to the next one? The next thing that you have here is groups. So groups are a little bit different. The thing that I think this is most similar to is kind of like Facebook. So I'm going to show you how to do this LUSD Schoology thing in a little bit. But a group is where you can connect with educators either in your school, in the district, in the state, or even across the country. Anybody who's part of Schoology has the option to use groups. Groups are what I would use to connect with other people, not necessarily my kids or my families. So let's say, for example, that I was a first grade teacher and I wanted to share resources with other first grade teachers in my school or even across the district. I could create a first grade teacher group. We can share, we can communicate, we can do all kinds of stuff within this group setting. So this is more of like your professional learning, whereas your courses are more for what you're doing with your own kids in your own classroom. Does that make sense? Yeah. I can't see you guys, so it's kind of like I'm talking to a wall. Okay, then we're gonna go on to resources. So your resources tab it's actually pretty comprehensive. So in your resource tab, you can create, you can view, you can edit, you can manage, you can do anything you want to with your instructional resources. You'll see on the side here that there's a whole bunch of different kind of resources. When I'm looking at personal resources, this is stuff that only I can see. So this might be an assignment that I've created or an assessment. And I can add my resources here. I can organize it in a bunch of different ways. And I can have all of these things at my fingertips right here in Schoology. Now, let's say that I wanted something more than that. If you click on public, this is really kind of like the Amazon of teacher resources. So if I were to search a particular subject, let's say that I was looking for English language arts, and let's say that I wanted to specifically look at it for second grade, I can set up filters, and these are all kinds of resources that teachers from all across the country using Schoology have shared. So if there's stuff in there that you like, you can add it to your own resources. So you can play with it. You can also see, just like Amazon, how they have ratings. So if a teacher used something and really liked it, they can go back and they can rate it. I can also sort it by file format. So if I'm really looking for some great ways to start discussions with my kids, I can search it that way. I can search it by assignments or pictures or a million different things. And these are things that you make public. So if there's something that I create and I want to share with everybody else, I can set it that way so other teachers can see it. If I would rather just keep it private, I can do that too. The other thing that you're going to see on here is for group. So let's say, for example, what I have here is let's say that I've created just some resources, maybe to do our calibration and alignment work with our first grade team. I can post all of our high frequency words and some of the assessments and prompts that we've done here. So that way anybody in the first grade team can access it and just easily push it through Schoology. So it's just different ways of setting up your resources so that it can be easily shared or not shared. Does that make sense? Yeah, no questions?
I do have a question, Kelly.
Yeah.
When you went back to the course section, like I would assume that elementary school, like middle school would probably create for every period, but for us elementary, we would just create one course for a whole class. But do we also want to create another one for parents where we put all the information for parents on there? Or?
So there's a bunch of different ways to do it. You can do it that way. You can also just create stuff within there that notifies parents of who's doing what and when to keep it simple. So like, let's say, for example, I started to mess with my kindergarten and how I would set it up if I were actually with the kindergarten class this year. So I started creating little folders to keep it simple. And then I would just invite my parents to my class and, you know, turn on and off things that I want them to have access to or not. And so when you get your formal Schoology training, they're going to go into a lot more detail and depth about how to communicate with parents and how to utilize this tool. Does that make sense? So they're going to definitely hold your hand through all of that process.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. The cool thing about folders is that you can copy entire resources and even an entire course. So like, let's say that I worked really hard on this kindergarten course this quarter. And let's say that I want to use the stuff that I made this quarter next year. I can copy the whole thing so that way I can use it again next year. So you definitely have that option to use those resources on a later date. All right. So your
Hey,
tool.
Kelly,
Yeah, of course.
can I ask you a question since you have that up right now? So in my head, I was having an internal debate if I should set it up by topic, like you just did, like math, science, reading, or if I should set it up by weekly dates, because we have to check their asynchronous work by week.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't sure if there was a plus or minus to doing it either way, what you would suggest. I like it by topic better, but I don't know when we have to enter our attendance on asynchronous work, or does Schoology just check all that for me anyway, and I don't care about weekly dates?
So, well, what I would honestly do, and so like, let's say I clicked on math. And so what I can do is I can actually add new folders. And then like, let's say that I want to make it for week 5. And then I can put all of my week 5 stuff for math that way, or you can do it vice versa. It's just really kind of same thing. Like, so if this math were to say week 5, I could create math, English language arts, science. So there's a whole bunch of different ways. I think you have to do what works best for you. I don't know that there's any one particular way that makes it easier or harder. Either way, Schoology will track the analytics. So it will be part of it.
Activities, books, and games.
Does that answer your question?
Reading is fun.
Okay. So with that, I'm going to keep going if you guys don't have any other questions. You're going to see this area here, in tools. Now, some teachers have said that the tools look different. My tools aren't populated yet. There's a bunch of stuff here in tools that are going to look different depending on what your role is. I'm really not going to go too much into detail aside from you can kind of see analytics as far as like how many parents logged in, how many students logged in. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because I think it really depends on your role. They'll go through that in more detail with you, but just know that that's part of what that is.
I have
Okay.
a question.
Yeah.
So it doesn't show up on mine. Is there like a button I need to press to activate tools?
No, so Diego, there's different components. Schoology's working out some of the bugs with their upload, and that may be why you're not seeing some of the tools. So just kind of hang tight on that one. That's also why I'm really not going to go too far down the wormhole, because that's one of the feedback pieces that teachers have said, like, I can't see that yet. So yeah, well, if you come back with us probably in 2 weeks, there will be more, or when your site does their formal training with Schoology, that will be covered in there as well.
Thank you.
Kelly, sorry to interrupt, but we have
No, this is what this is. This is casual.
we have some teachers that really wanted to attend, but they're stuck in the meeting, so they're wondering if you could record it so they can watch it at a later date.
I actually am recording it.
Perfect.
Yep.
Hey, Kelly, you might have already answered this, but I have everything in Google folders. Is there an easy transfer to Schoology?
There is. So if you're a Google Drive person, you can totally push from your Google Drive right into Schoology.
Awesome. That's really good news.
I know, right? Yay! Streamline.
Really good news.
All right, my friends. So now I'm going to talk about the right side, this top right part of the screen, and kind of what these things do. So this magnifying glass is your search. And your search is actually pretty cool because it can help you look for a bunch of things. So let's say that I have a teacher friend that I really, really want to connect with. Laura, I see you here, so I'm going to use Laura. And so let's say that I want to search for Laura Grosset. And so I can search for Laura. Hey, there she is, Lakeview. And so I can find her. If I'm looking for a particular course, like let's say that I have some sort of a professional learning course that we have set up, like let's say that I've set up one for like learning how to use map, for example. I could search for that course within our organization and that would appear. I could also search for a group. So let's say that I'm looking to connect with other third grade teachers. I'm getting the wheel of death. Of course I am. I love technology. Ah, there we go. Okay, so let's say that I wanted to connect with other third grade teachers. I could go by groups and I could search for a whole bunch of third grade teachers and see if they have a public forum or a private forum where they're located, and you can see there's millions and millions of options out there for you to connect with other teachers. So for me, I think that's pretty cool because the world is small and we may as well learn from each other, right? So there's a whole bunch of different ways to search in that area. This little waffle here, my mini Google waffle, even though it's not Google at all, this is your App Center. So this one is one of the ones that I'm going to encourage you to be super cautious about because every site is using Clever and all of our apps are rostered through Clever single sign-on. However, some of you may have established a private account with like MobiMax, or maybe your PTA provided something that's not rostered through Clever. When you go into the App Center, you can push that and you can help your kids access it that way. The reason why I'm encouraging you to be very, very cautious about this is because the rostering may be punky. So I would strongly encourage you to use Clever. So like kids are in Schoology, the only app I would really have them access is Clever, just to keep things clean and updated and with the single sign-on. So we can talk more about this offline if like you're feeling some kind of way about it. But that's, I wanted you to know that this is there, this is what it does, but we're probably really not going to touch it right away until we've got some of those other kinks ironed out, okay?
Yeah, Kelly, about Clever, we've been having some issues that I don't want to, with Clever, so if we can have a separate training on that, we could probably go into that some other time.
Yeah, for sure. Clever's awesome when it works. So if you're having some issues with it not working or you're encountering some roadblocks, I want to know about it because we've been able to solve some pretty big problems this past week, particularly with Imagine Learning. So if there's something that you're encountering, let's definitely have a conversation offline about this because I want to know so I can fix it and make it better.
Okay, thanks.
So anything Clever let you know?
Let somebody, Ed Services is me and Lauren right now because Stephanie is, she's out on leave. She should be back tomorrow and we're all kind of tasked out to a million different things. So it's probably going to be me or Lauren that figures out anyway. You can email the Ed Services email and one of us will pick it up, or you can just email me or email Lauren or email Stephanie directly. And again, one of us will pick it up. But if it's something that you'd rather talk through, you guys know, you all have my phone number, just text me or call me. It's just easier that way. Sounds good? Okie dokie. So this thing here is your calendar. Big surprise because it's a calendar icon. So the cool thing about calendar is that just like if you're using Google Classroom, you have a calendar for your classroom and you can see when certain assignments are due, when field trips are coming, when any notification that you want to set is there. You can sync your calendars to push through Schoology. So there are different options in your setting that will allow you to do that. There is a link. So if we're going back to this thing here, if you go into the navigating the dashboard, there's a whole bunch of job aids that show you in more detail how to do that. So it's a nice little feature. This here is your message area. So let's say that a parent sends you a message through Schoology, or another teacher from another group sends you a message. You'll be able to see that here. So like Karen sent me an email just a little bit ago. And so I can view that email in there, and it'll look just like this. And then it'll also keep a log of messages that I've sent, or if I want to create a new message through Schoology, I can do that there as well. The other thing that you'll see here is this little bell. If you guys are Facebook users, I keep using Facebook as an analogy because I feel like that's the most similar platform to Schoology. If there's something new that happened, like somebody added something or something changed or somebody wants to join a group that you've created, you're going to see a little number beside this bell. And so when you click on the bell, I don't have any notifications right now, so it's telling me, hey, you don't have any notifications. You'll see it pop up here for you to address it. Same thing with requests. If you have a group established and somebody was wanting to join it, or somebody wants something that you've created, you'll see a request that'll pop up there and it will guide you right to that. Do you guys have questions about that? Okay.
I did, but I could wait till the end.
No, go for it. This is what this is. We're learning together, right?
No, because it's back to the nothing. No, it's not about school.
Okay. We'll chat in a little bit.
Well, I have a question then.
Yeah.
And I kind of put it somewhat in the chat. I know some other people had the same problem. They logged in once, they did everything correctly, and then all of a sudden they couldn't get back in. Where I talked to Lauren and she told me, go through LSUSD and you'll see it, which I did, but it was missing some of the things I'd put in before. So I went ahead and added the things that I had again. And now when you were just talking about searching for people, I searched my name and I see my name twice. So that's, I feel like I have an account that I made, because I think I made it like right after that training session. Things weren't up and going. But the one that I went, when I go through lsusd.schoology, that's all, that's, I think, is the one I'm supposed to go to, right? I just want to make sure if I go that, not, because if I go through Schoology.com, no passwords, nothing works. The only thing that works, okay. Just want to make sure.
So definitely the
one.
LSUSD. And actually I can probably try to push, I can maybe even try to push a tile through Illuminate that will link you directly if that's easier. But yeah, you definitely want to do the lsusd.schoology.net because that's our official domain, if you will.
Because I think that's where some people are having difficulty. It's like, because when you go through that, it'll tell you it's not correct. Then you hit reset and it will tell you, you have to do this through your district. You can't do this through us. And people are getting frustrated. So maybe just letting people know, try this, going and putting this on your dashboard or wherever.
Love it. Thank you for that heads up. That's awesome. All right, my friends. So at the top here, you'll see I uploaded a picture of myself and my name should appear. Yours should also appear in your account, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So when you are here, you're going to see that you have a drop-down menu of all these different things. Again, if you go here to this walks you through how to do your profile step by step. So if you feel like you're missing something, don't hesitate. Again, the bit.ly link is there for you to just make a copy and do what you need to. So in your profile, this gives you the option to edit different things. Schoology sometimes has these little yellow bars that'll give you a to-do list of stuff that you might want to consider doing. So if you're in your account and you see that, just know the kids can't see that. It's just more for your knowledge. When you click on the picture, it gives you the option to edit your picture. So if you have a Bitmoji that you're super attached to, or if you have a personal picture, you can go ahead and attach that file right here. And then it will ask you to crop your picture, and voila. You now have a picture of yourself. I definitely recommend having a picture or a Bitmoji so the kids can identify you. That's my personal recommendation. When you have your About Me page, you can go ahead and edit those things by clicking this pencil here. So like, obviously it doesn't show my birth year on the real thing, but it will here. If I want to talk about my position, the levels I taught, anything that is of interest to me, contact information, any of that stuff, you should be able to go ahead and update in your profile. So you feel free to go ahead and do that. I'm going to cancel that out. When you go into info, you'll see how it looks to your kids. If you want to start a class blog, your kids will also have the opportunity to see that. You can create posts and talk about different things that's going on. So if you're going to be just highlighting different things that you're doing in your classroom, you have that opportunity. And then if you're a portfolio person, you can showcase all kinds of different stuff that you're doing. I really like it for my own, like if you're doing it for personal growth, if you're one of our new teachers and you're into BITSA, you can create your own portfolio. So there's a lot of options for you there within just this whole profile setting. This here where it says Lakeside Union School District, it should reflect your school site. If it does not reflect your school site, and like let's say that I'm a teacher at the farms and for some reason it's showing up Winter Gardens, we need to know about that, because that could be one of the issues that we're encountering with the Schoology rostering.
Kelly, can I cut in real quick on that?
Of course.
Before I got the email that said, don't do your school, do Lakeside Union School District, I typed in Lemoncrest. And I'm one of those people where I'm not seeing a lot of the things that you're explaining, but under where it's under your profile, it says Lemoncrest Elementary. It doesn't say Lakeside Union School District. Is that a problem or is that okay?
No, they're working on that in the back end, so I wouldn't stress about that right now.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't out of the loop because I didn't type in Lakeside Union.
Yeah, no, don't worry about it. And the only reason it's showing that for me is because technically I'm at the district office, so my home site is everywhere. So that's why I'm able to appear that way. But yours should, it should, and that's also something that they're working on the back end and they hope to have resolved quickly. So if it's still punky by Friday, we need to know about it. But for now, don't stress.
Okay, thank you.
So again, when you're here and you go to settings, this gives you some control over what your kiddos can and can't see. So for my kiddos in kindergarten, I wouldn't want them to see that my name is Kelly. I want them to see that I'm Mrs. Gilbert. So you can select your title and then you can select if you want to display the title instead of your first name. So I don't want them to see like Kelly Gilbert. So see how mine says Mrs. Gilbert here? I don't want them to see Kelly Gilbert. So that's why I've selected it that way. If your time zone is funky, you can change that. If you want to provide an alternate email, so say you want to get another set of notifications, you can do that too. It probably won't allow you to change your last name. And the reason why it won't is because of how Schoology does its rostering through Illuminate. So if for some reason it does allow you to change your last name and you change it, it's going to create a whole host of linking problems. So as far as that one's concerned, just don't change it, please. But you shouldn't be able to. If you forgot your password or you have this generic password that you're really not into, you can change your own password here. So you can set it so that it matches some of your other things. If you want to access your Schoology calendar, so say that you live and die by your Google Calendar and you want to know what you've set up for your kids, but it's your personal thing, you can connect it here. And then this link account and merge accounts are something that we're doing on the back end. I don't want you to worry about that right now. For setting your homepage, this was in the very beginning when I said, oh, you can see what I've done recently, or you can see my course dashboard. You can choose which one you want to appear first, and then you would just save your changes. So that's pretty much how the settings there work. In your notifications, do you see how my little bell now has a notification here at the top? So you can decide what you want to be notified for. If you don't want to have a million notifications every time someone submits something, you can turn those notifications off. So when you click on this notifications tab, you'll see this whole entire list of just what you can be notified for, and you can decide how you want to do it. You can also customize it. So it might be like, hey, I only want to see this for this particular student, or I only want a notification on this particular assignment. So you can definitely change those and update those as you need to. So I'm going to go back up to the top here. This privacy settings, most of this stuff you'll see kind of similar to what I'm seeing. The thing that I want to draw your attention to here though is this search settings. So like I showed you before when I searched for Laura in the search bar, let's say that you don't necessarily want to be found by teachers in New York. You can uncheck that, and then that will make it so that really you can only be seen by the folks within our infrastructure, our district. So you won't be out there for the world to search and find and do that. The last thing that you're going to see in here is your recycle bin. And your recycle bin pretty much is your hub for anything that you have trashed. So that's just like, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to throw this away. It will appear in your recycle bin. Okay, let me stop. Let me ask you what questions you have, or what do you need to talk through as far as this part goes before I go on to the next stuff.
Kelly, I have a question.
Absolutely.
Being RSP, and I'm not going to have my own class, how do I set it up so I'm linked to the other teachers? Because I don't want to confuse parents and kids.
Absolutely. So that is something that we are working on in the background. What I'm suspecting that it's going to look like, and Lauren and Stephanie can definitely speak more to this than I can, because they've been really handling the back end. What I suspect is going to happen is going to be more of a co-teacher situation. So that way, let's say that you're tag teaming with, you're at Lemon Crest. So like, let's say
I have multiple teachers. There's like 10 or 11 or 12.
Yeah, so let's say that you're tag teaming with Roxanne. You should be able to see the kids from her class on your caseload.
But how does it, who's going to do that? How does it get loaded in is my
So
question.
you should have your own access to just those kids, similar to like how we have some teachers that are sharing the classroom because they're on a shared contract. They both have their own personal access to their shared classroom.
So how, but I'm just trying to figure out how is that going to, or you don't know yet on the back end, or is it going to be loaded already in there, or do I have to contact the teachers?
No, it will be loaded, assigned to you.
Oh, whoever my caseload kids
Whoever's
are, so
your
like 30 and they're in 12 classes, you guys are going to look down the list and load those teachers in.
Yeah, so we're trying to get that uploaded with SACE right now because you're using SACE to do a lot of your caseload management. So once that is complete, that should hopefully populate those students for you and roster them to you.
Those teachers or those kids?
So your kids on your caseload should be with you in conjunction with their regular gen ed teacher.
Okay, so we just have to wait to see how it works out. If not, contact you. Okay, perfect.
Just hang tight. I know, that's like the worst answer ever, right? Okay, what other questions can I answer about this so far? Do you guys feel like you at least know what these things do at the top? I know I'm going super, super slow here, but like I said, today is just more of a gearing up. All right, so without further ado, I have more people that need to join. Give me 1 second. Let me check our friends in the chat box really quick.
Is part of today how students get in?
Today we are just doing a very, very brief overview. So I'm gonna go back to my slides here. And on here, sorry, I don't know if you can see me clicking out of all these 800 things. What I really wanted you to do was to understand how to navigate the Schoology homepage, how to edit your profile and notification settings, how to access your resources, know the difference between courses and groups, and then join the Schoology squad. So what I want to show you here is the courses area. So that's my slide 5. In here, I have an entire guide to Schoology courses. And then I also have here an entire guide to Schoology groups. There's a really cool document on there that highlights the difference between the two. And we kind of already touched on it when we were here. What I want to share with you is what a group actually looks like. So I'm going to go down kind of that group wormhole, especially if you guys are meeting virtually in your PLCs and you just need a better way to do it. I strongly recommend groups. I've actually used Schoology for a while and with a EL group here in California. And so let's go to groups, and you'll see that I've created this LUSD Schoology squad group. And pretty much I have it set so that anyone in our district who wants to join it and just like talk about Schoology or learn some stuff about Schoology can be in it. I've posted how to access it here on this slide. So if you need this access code, you'll see it right there. So what it'll do when you're in the group setting is you may not have anything. Like if you're in groups right now, yours might be completely blank, right? So you can go to My Groups and you can either join a group or you can make a new group. So first I'm going to show you how to join my Schoology group just so you can get the feel for that. So when you click join, it's going to ask you for an access code. And that's the access code that I provided on that slide deck, that J79 whatever auto generate. If you type in that access code and click join, it will send me a notification that someone has requested. So like Anna's requested to join our group. And so that's how you can go ahead and join this group. And then when you're in the group, it's a lot like Facebook. So you can make posts, you can have dialogue, you can create photo albums, you can see who's in the group, and then also there's resources. So what I did as an example was I created a folder from today of our gearing up session. And in that folder, I put the slide deck also in case you wanted to see it. Hopefully I'll be able to post some videos. I was telling the other group that we have an Ed Services YouTube channel coming where we're gonna walk through like 2-minute, 3-minute snippets of just different things that you can do with technology. But if I wanted to add a video or do something like that, I can add that here as well. And it's just a way for us to collaborate on a common platform. So let's say, for example, I'm gonna go back to groups. Let's say, for example, that I'm part of a first grade PLC. And we're working on those calibration and alignment assessments that we did over the summer. And we just need a better way to communicate, like, hey, how's it going? What did you do with your kids? Where are you at? I can create a group and I can call it, I'm really slow typer right now. Grade. And then what I can do is I can decide if I only want the teachers in my school to see it, within the district to see it, if I want to just create a regular group. I don't want anyone to see it. I don't know why you would use that, but it's there. Or certain parameters for custom. So I'm going to invite anybody in the organization, LUSD, to do it. I can decide who I want to access it. So, hey, if this is like by invite only, or if someone happens to have the code, I can say that they request it, or I can just leave it completely open where anyone can join it without an access code. So I tend to like requests. And then you can decide what type of organization that you have. So I'm going to call it a faculty group just because it's for us teachers, it's not for kids. And I'm going to create it. And now you'll see that I have a new group. And so I can add members to it. I can invite people just like you would in Facebook. So similar to that, you can edit your picture, you can talk about your purpose, you can have resources, and you can do a whole bunch of stuff with it. So that's kind of the whole purpose of how a group works. Within your courses, without going too far down the wormhole, because this is just an orientation, this is a little bit different. So when I'm in my courses, I'm not going to be inviting kids or doing things like that because my kids are already rostered to me. In courses though, what I can do is I can go ahead and I can add materials. So if I want to add an assignment, or I want to create an assessment for my kids, or I want to have a post like I would in a check-in, I can do that. If I want them to watch a video or send them to a page, I can do all kinds of stuff here. Once you link up to your, so the grade book, that's going to be a topic for a later discussion. If you start posting your assignments in here and you grade them in here, it'll auto-populate your grade book for you, which is pretty cool. Attendance is in here. You can see your kids. Mine's kind of wimpy because I don't have kids right now, so I don't have any kids rostered to me, but you'll see them. You can see badges. You can assign badges for different things. There's just a lot of stuff that you can do with it. Anytime you see a cogwheel or a gear, it allows you to copy things, move stuff around. If I'm differentiating, like let's say that I have my daughter in my class and I only want Mackie to read this one assignment, I can individually assign it to just her. The cool thing about Schoology also, we've talked about this in the past, is that it will monitor the amount of time a student is engaged with the work asynchronously. And so what they have told us is that, let's say that, I'll use my daughter Mackie again, let's say that Mrs. Gross had assigned Mackie a reading assignment and she forgot to close out of it. It's not going to say that Mackie was on this assignment for 12 hours. What it does is it pings back and forth looking for movement and engagement. So that way it has a more accurate assessment of how much time she actually spent on the assignment. So you'll be able to see that in your analytics as well as some of the other tools that are in there. Okay, so that was a lot of information on a Wednesday, and I'm sure your brains are already ready to explode because we are reopening in 2 weeks. So I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna ask for what kind of questions I can answer as far as just this orientation piece goes. You guys are just on overload, right?
Can
I ask you one question real quick, Kelly, about
Always.
Seesaw? So you're showing all these assignments and everything that we can put into Schoology, but right now, like we're heavily invested in Seesaw. How are we just going to go through Clever kind of thing? Like how I don't even know what that's going to look like.
Yeah, so Schoology is like the main hub, regardless. So I shouldn't say is because it's not yet. Schoology is going to be the main hub. So regardless of if the student is at Eucalyptus or at TDS, wherever that student, the family is, a parent will be able to access all of the students in their family in one hub by just a little drop-down menu, right? So let's say that I'm a school or a Seesaw teacher and I have some assignments that I'm super into having my kids use. When I am in my course, let's say that I'm in my kindergarten, I can link it in my course. So let's say that I want them to do this Seesaw task. I would link it right here in this course. So think of this as like your virtual landing page or your virtual classroom. This is kind of the place that brings everything together. Does that make sense? I should probably build it so you can actually see it because a picture's worth 1,000 words, right?
Yes.
I'll work on that.
Thank you. I'm trying to visualize it myself. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's an awesome, fair question.
Thank you.
And so would it show up just as a link or a tab?
So it should show up as like the little seesaw square right within it.
Okay, and a title for the assignment kind of thing. I'm hoping. Okay.
And the one thing that I'm going to reiterate is that, you know, we're learning something new and it's not going to be perfect the first time you do it. And, you know, give yourself permission to make mistakes. It's okay. You can't break it. We're going to figure it out together.
So is the district going to pay us more as, you know, website designers and tech specialists and that, you know, what we're becoming and all this creative work and endeavor?
I wish I had the answer to that one, but that one's above my pay grade.
So is all this work.
So I will say that one question that I did get that I want to be super, super transparent about is some of the teachers have been asking us, well, we've already been in Seesaw. We've already been in Classroom. Why is it so important that we have a learning management system? And the reason for that is twofold. One, the distance learning team said that, hey, we need something to unify our district to keep everybody on the same page, particularly with parent communication and family outreach. The other side of it is that, you know, in my real job, when I'm not doing ed tech stuff, I'm actually doing state and federal programs and school funding. So in terms of like our Title I federal programs. And so there is something called a learning continuity and attendance plan that is in lieu of our LCAP this year that calls for strict reporting and accountability in terms of student engagement and achievement. So when we think about student engagement, we really have to have a strong pulse on which of our kids are actually engaging with us. And for the ones who aren't, how do we know that they're not so we can figure out a way to re-engage them? And so a platform like Schoology allows everybody, regardless of position in the district, to be on the same page so that way we can make sure that all of our kids are on that road to both academic achievement, social emotional achievement, and then just even as far as like attendance and some of those behavior issues, we can keep everybody all on the same page. So there's a whole, without getting too far down the wormhole, there's a whole other piece that goes to this beyond just like, hey, let's add one more thing to our plates. So there's actually a pretty deep rationale behind it. If you kind of hop in on the board meeting tomorrow, Kim will detail some of those aspects for you. Okay, so again, I'm gonna go back to this, shifting gears. The purpose of today was really just to kind of figure out these aspects, right? Like I've logged in Cal, I have no idea what I'm looking at, talk me through what I'm seeing. That was really, really the purpose of this. When either myself or Stephanie sees you next week, if you decide to join us, we're gonna go a little bit deeper with some of the things that you can see in Schoology. Same thing with 2 weeks from now, where we go really, really deep in some of those things, keeping in mind that it's a learning lab. So it's just like we did here today. We're just gonna talk it through, play with it, mess with it, and go from there. your site will get a formal training from Schoology. And so I believe that they are working out those dates right now as we speak. So please don't think like, oh my gosh, this is all the district gave us. Like, no, this is just for us to talk it through, to mess with it, to play with it a little bit, and just get familiar. So we at least have our bearing when we go into those trainings. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope that this was worth an hour of your time. If it's not, no hard feelings. Just let me know. Be like, Kelly, this is not for me. If it was helpful, let me know that too, because then we can work on making things better for you in the future. So with that, if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, I will sign off and say thank you. And I appreciate all that you're doing for our kids. You guys are awesome. I love the fact that you're still smiling. And so I'm super proud of you guys and I appreciate you.
Kelly, can I stay on for just a minute or two to ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Me too.
Absolutely.
Just how to get the kids to sign on.
For sure.
Number's not working. The website's not working.
Sharing this.